And now to officially close today's proceedings, I'd like to invite Telmor Langwilla, the Shadow Parliamentary Secretary to the Leader of the Opposition and Multicultural Affairs.
Gracias, Santilla. Can I say, in making some concluding remarks and in thanking our panelists, first to acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land, the oldest continuous culture in the world. Last night, if I might say, I went to a concert with Archie Roach, who performed together with another great Latin American musician, human rights activist by the name of Leon Gieco. And Archie said, we are here to celebrate multicultural diversity of the Australian Indigenous people, because they themselves have been multicultural and indeed multi-ethnic and indeed multilinguistic for thousands of years. And I put that rhetorically in the sense of that sometimes I wonder why we actually question whether we are or not a multicultural society. Captain Arthur Phillip, who commanded, so he was an admiral, the first fleet in the country, arrived in Port Jackson, Botany Bay, having come from Latin America, and he was German Jew, whose family had been expelled from Spain and by Isabel the Catholic in 13th century, and his family ended up in Frankfurt, and he campaigned against slavery in Latin America, and that was the first pronouncement that he made when he arrived in this generous nation. Can I say, in conclusion, that I share the words of my parliamentary colleague, Bruce Atkinson. This is indeed a parliament of ideas. And I wish to say in relation to Bruce, and we say so very publicly and very unequivocally, in my view, the presiding officer has been a champion of championing multiculturalism and diversity, and for that we thank you, Bruce, and I think he's been the busiest presiding officer for many decades, certainly in this space. Can I say that this is the Parliament of Ideas, and that's why we are so grateful to the Scanlon Foundation for wanting to hold and for agreeing to hold this important discussion and conversation and report in this Parliament. Because as you know, this is the Parliament that in 1856 first achieved the secret ballot, at that time only for men. A devised mechanism by an Englishman, a lawyer by the name of Clark, who later became a judge in New Zealand, gave us Australians and the world, for the first time, the first jurisdiction to have a secret ballot to elect authorities in the state. And of course, last but not least in this Parliament was achieved the 8-hour day, such an important achievement, particularly for those of us, may I say all of us, interested in social justice and in inclusion. Can I take this opportunity to say thank you, Peter Scanlon, and to the Foundation, and to, of course, to Professor Andrew Markus and to Anthea Hankos, who's been terrific. And thank you for agreeing and wanting to hold this important report and to launch it in this place. Can I say in my concluding remarks, and I think it's incumbent on us, Bruce and myself, to indicate how proud we are of our Victorian bipartisanship. And we like to think that in doing so today, we have become somewhat custodians of the very good work done in this state, especially by the many champions of multiculturalism and of diversity and of social cohesion in Victoria. And many of you are in this room, most of you are, and we pay tribute to the work you've done for decades. Can I say that this report, we like to think that it shows that the longevity of the work of bipartisanship of all institutions, Victoria Police and others, is beginning to pay some good work and pay tribute to the work that has been done. Can we say that we recognize that it leaves us with many challenges that we need to undertake? May I say, I tend to agree with Andrew in most things, but I think it'd be fair to say that the reputation of politicians has increased markedly. It has gone from 1% to 2%, a 100% growth. So we should be somewhat happy with that. Can I say on a very serious note that we are proud of being Victorians? I'm not quite sure about other jurisdictions and Canberra, but I can say that as a Victorian, I'm particularly proud of the way that we do business in this space. And we will continue to do it in the same way into the future in partnership with everyone in this room. I think Australia, comparatively speaking to the world, and I do so not just by reading reports, but by reading the media and anecdotal evidence in other jurisdictions in Europe and Latin America and other parts of the world, I think we do it much better than anywhere else in the world. And if I might say, I think we particularly do it well in Victoria. Please join me in thanking the panelists, report author Professor Andrew Markus, Assistant Commissioner Victoria Police Andrew Crisp, the General Manager Stakeholder Relations AMES Adam Baxter, and Lawyer and Social Justice Advocate Azmeena Hussain, and of course CEO Australian Industry Group Ines Willox. All of them have been terrific panelists. We thank you. We are privileged to have you in the Parliament. And of course, Peter Scanlon and Hastelal and the Honourable St. James Cobo and Joe Caputo, the Chairman of the Federation, and Eddie and Chintan and Kate Jenkins, Victorian Equal Opportunity and Human Rights Commissioner. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming to the Victorian Parliament, the People's House, and that includes the upper house. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Languila. I'd also like to echo your thanks to our panellists. And again, I'd also like to acknowledge Peter Scanlon and the Scanlon Foundation for their generous support of this research. And copies of the report are available online at www.scanlonfoundation.org.au. And I'd also like to thank the Honourable Bruce Atkinson, the President of the Legislative Council and the State Member of the Eastern Metropolitan Region, and Thelma Languila, the Shadow Parliamentary Secretary to the Leader of the Opposition and Multicultural Affairs. Thank you all for attending this morning, and I'd now like to invite you to join us for some light refreshments. Thank you very much.